Oh. Okay, we're live, and today's prompt comes from a walk I was taking along the canal, where there were lots of little geese families. Now, I didn't used to know anything about geese, and I don't really know very much now, but I do know that one, they have little families, obviously. There's a daddy and a mommy get together and they lay a lot of eggs, and they're kind of social but not social, because I've seen them kind of hiss at each other when they're territorial. So if a goose from one family goes into the little enclave of, and we're not talking about very far, we're talking about a couple of meters, but that very, very territorial, and they'll hiss at each other, but they'll also hiss at humans. And there's usually one or maybe two geese. Say there are 3 or 4 families, it could be up to 20, 25 geese. And there'll be 1 or 2 keeping watch while everybody else or all the other geese are busy eating, or whatever they're doing when they're pecking at the ground. I assume that they're eating. There's no other reason to be pecking at the ground, is there? But the 2 that are watching, even if you're not walking anywhere close to them, you could be 2, 3, 4 meters away, they'll look at you, and if you make eye contact with them, they'll start hissing. And it's obvious that they are not being friendly. They're not saying, hello, human. They're doing the opposite, saying, go away, human. Don't you dare come near us, otherwise we'll all attack you. And from what I know about geese, I've heard stories, that would not be a pleasant experience, simply because their wings are very, very strong. And I have heard that swans certainly can break your leg. So I would imagine that geese could inflict damage, at least on your fingers, and possibly peck at your ears and your nose. And it would not be something that you would want to endure as part of a challenge on TV in order to win a prize. You just think, no, I'm not doing that. I'd rather just dive into some ice cold water, please. Anyway, this is the topic of today's story, the unusual watchdog, because back in the day, I did hear an anecdotal story from somebody who said he knew someone, so it was friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. They had a goose as a watchdog in their garden. And the logic was that burglars at that time, apparently this was in the 1930s or the 1940s, burglars would quite often expect to meet a dog, and they would carry maybe some meat with them. But, to quote this person, how many would think to carry a pocket full of grain? And even then, there was no guarantee that the goose would take it and let this person pass, because they're very territorial. So that would be the topic for your short story today. You're going to not necessarily be a burglar, but you are going to encounter an unusual watchdog of some description, and perhaps you're going about normal business. It could be a door-to-door salesman, could be a traveling medic, or somebody who is going the rounds in a rural practice, to somebody who cannot get to the surgery as a doctor. I know that there used to be, I don't know if there still are, but there used to be flying doctors in certain parts of the world, and therefore I would imagine there were flying dentists as well. Nurses. There would be a lot of people who, social services, reporters perhaps. A reporter, somebody trying to get in on a juicy story. So that would be a kind of an everyday, cozy, slice of life type of story. The watchdog in a science fiction story could be something robotic and therefore immune to any form of bribery, apart from possibly being like the Sphinx on the, is it the Sphinx on the bridge? I'm not sure. The creature on the bridge asked 3 questions, and you had to answer the questions in order to get over the bridge. Otherwise you were thrown into the water or the abyss below. science fantasy or high fantasy and or horror. Again, it could be some sort of guardian to a portal that you must pass through in order to complete your quest. Romance. The watchdog here could be somebody who is your love interest. They're blocking you and they're hostile towards you. So you must first of all enchant them, convince them that you are not a threat to their friend. Their intentions are very well-meaning, and in fact this could fortify your book simply because that person could then become your ally when things all go wrong, which is the melting point of the story, isn't it? Not the melting point, the point at which everything goes wrong. So if you've watched any romantic comedies, or the go to her moment or the go to him, run to him moment, you might need, well, the advice would be from the person who initially acts as the watchdog. There's a term for this in I think the 12 archetypes that you find in stories. They are the gatekeeper. I think they're the gatekeeper. Yeah, I think it's the gatekeeper. So there you go. What is your main character's handful of green? How do they charm their way around this person, or enchant them, or persuade them to be on their side? And that's a fairly good, I think, starting point for a story. All right. I will say bye-bye now. 7 minutes. Wow, this one's a bit long. Okay, bye-bye for now.